Instead of manually emailing clients after a meeting, for example, you can automatically set up a workflow that when the meeting is done, it automatically sends them the next steps. So little things like that build trust. They organize things. They make the client understand that you are professional. And if you prep your clients before they come into the meeting, not only does the meeting more efficient, but they also understand that you're taking this seriously. These are some automated workflows that maybe you're doing manually, maybe you're not doing, but you're like, oh my gosh, if I could have that automatically send out, that would be huge. And so that's the type of stuff that I want you to get out of today. The last one I see a lot of advisors doing is referral-based communication. So right now, a referral boosting, basically, where like right now, you probably get a lot of your business from realtors or lawyers. If you know that and you have that in the database and you know that Jim, the realtor, has sent you 10 deals or hasn't sent you 10 deals, you can then action that. And that's a really powerful system to feed referrals. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to an episode of Advisor Tech Talks. My name is Massimo, your host. Kind of being solo these days. I think we're going to have some guests on very soon. But I'm very excited today to talk about something that I have a lot of experience with and hopefully have some input. Hopefully you get some good nuggets from it. Essentially what I'm calling today's episode is unlocking hidden CRM strategies. And so a lot of advisors, I deal with tons of them, come to me and say, okay, this CRM world is challenging. I don't really get what a CRM is. I don't really get how to use it properly. Could you give me some reasons why I should think about it? And I think more and more with AI taking a forefront, things accelerating faster, the reality is there's a lot of noise in AI. But there is one thing that's very clear is that even if you want to keep up this year, next year, 5 years from now, you need data. And you need your data in one spot, and you need to start thinking about how you use it. And so today I'm going to talk about, assuming you have a CRM, assuming you have a database, how you use that data properly. So let's get into it. In today's episode, I'm going to go through 3 or 4 different examples of things I'm seeing advisors do, strategies to grow their business, and I'm going to try to break them down as simply as possible. So for those of you that don't know, CRM means customer relationship. That strategy involves having a database. Easily search it, find them, etc. And so what I was talking about with the rise in AI is if you're wanting to stay ahead and you're wanting to communicate with clients and find new ways of communicating with clients, you have to get good at putting your data somewhere. It cannot be in Excel files or Outlook or whatever. You have to get it in a database. So once it's in a database, let's say you have all your clients in there, what are some tips and tricks or some ways to kind of think about how to use it? And you can think about this from the angle of like, okay, I don't believe in this CRM stuff. I don't want it, whatever. Well, I'll give you some areas or some reasons why I think you should have it. So let's start with automation. So a lot of these databases can do some cool things. Typically, they can cause reactions based off of an action. So for example, if you're in the database and you edit the address or the date of birth, that can cause a reaction, which would be an email or a task, like a to-do item. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do with that. But to break it down simply, what I see a lot of clients doing to scale their practice without creating a whole lot of extra work is they kind of sit down. And what I say to a lot of clients is sit down and map out your process. Just get a sheet of paper or an Excel file and kind of say, okay, what are the steps that happen from someone coming to me wanting insurance to the point where they actually purchase insurance, or someone coming to me saying they want to open up an investment account to the point of me actually opening one up. And there's many steps throughout the process. You got to communicate with them. You got to collect documentation. You got to see if they're worthy of the documentation, worthy of the product. You then got to give them a quote. You then got to get things signed. Like roughly that's kind of the process, right? And throughout that process, there's probably points where you're spending a lot of time doing repetitive work, maybe checking in on a client to see if they've given you the documentation, to see if they have any further questions, etc. And so what I typically tell people to do is when they map this out, they can then say, okay, at certain points in the process, just put like an A above something that could be automated. And you just start keeping track. And when you're done mapping out the process, you can start seeing certain areas that can be automated. And in my experience, there are some that are very common between advisors. So to start with, client follow-ups. What does that mean? Instead of manually emailing clients after a meeting, for example, you can automatically set up a workflow that when the meeting is done, it automatically sends them the next steps. So if in your database, like I said, you map out this process and you say, okay, first is an initial meeting, second is a discovery call, third is a whatever. When you say, okay, I'm done my initial meeting, it automatically sends an email 10 minutes after saying, hey, great meeting with you. You'll hear from me within the next 24 hours. So little things like that build trust. They organize things. They make the client understand that you are professional. And it also can be sent out to give them reminders or action items. And so what I see the most proficient advisors do is coming up to a meeting. It actually sends out an email saying, hey, don't forget your meeting's in an hour. Don't forget your meeting's in a half hour. And also, here's all the things you should think about when coming into this meeting, because I'm going to be asking you specific questions. And if you prep your clients before they come into the meeting, not only does the meeting, is it more efficient, but they also understand that you're taking this seriously. These are some automated workflows that maybe you're doing manually, maybe you're not doing, but you're like, oh my gosh, if I could have that automatically send out, that would be huge. And so that's the type of stuff that I want you to get out of today. Another one, I call these fail-safe automations, and these are in a lot of the tools. For example, a lot of these tools allow you to kind of map out a process, like I'm saying, and then move a client through the process. So you can kind of say, okay, the client did this, the client did that. Well, there's a lot of things in these tools called fail-safe automations where if something sits there for too long, for example, let's say you met with Massimo and he's in the stage discovery meeting and you haven't met with him in 5 days. You haven't written a note on him. You haven't sent an email. He hasn't sent an email. Well, the system can actually nudge you and say, hey, maybe you should give Massimo a call. It's been 5 business days. And so these are the types of things, especially when you get busy, that make you money and make you look proficient and professional. And so these are some of the reasons that I see a lot of advisors leaning into these CRMs. You can probably tell, and I hear this a lot from advisors, I don't want to do automation because I deal with high net worth people and it's going to make me look bad or whatever. I would challenge you to give me any way that what I just said makes you look bad. Pre and post follow-ups to a meeting, nudges if something's sitting there for too long. Like these are automations and they're making you look good, right? And so this is why you got to lean into it. There's some other ones, for example, that I see on the money side, Zero and all of that, KYC automations. So when's the last time you did a KYC with a client? And some people's dealers and softwares do this for them, but a lot of advisors, especially PMs that work with us, they kind of say, no, I want to handle this. I want to reach out to the client. And so they will actually control the compliance alerts. And so they will get an internal alert saying, hey, it's that time of year. You should check in about the KYC. And what you should be thinking here is just always be thinking ahead. Always be thinking about what are things I'm doing repetitively or consistently and all the time, and could a system do this for me? The neat thing about a lot of these tools is they can integrate directly with your email. They can send out emails from your email, so the client doesn't know you're not literally sending it. It looks professional. And if you're kind of like, listen, I want to walk before I run, you can just have emails and tasks go to you. And then once you get more comfortable, you can say, you know what, just send this out to the client. I don't need to get this, and then re-forward it on to the client, right? And that's where you eventually want to get to, because there's only so many hours in the week. And the way I phrase it is, if you can find these automations that help you get time back to then provide better problem solving and service to the client, that's a huge win. At the end of the day, the client is not paying you to send them an email. The client is paying you to solve their problems and make them more money or whatever it may be in the financial world. And that takes brain power and effort. And if you can get some of that back, you're making the client's life better and you're probably going to make more money. So that's the first way. Those are some simple automations. If you're going through this process, map out your process, find some areas that it could be automated. And kind of the clues are, like I said, pre and post meetings, task reminders if you or the client forgot to send something, like the fail-safe automations, and compliance alerts. Those are 3 big areas that I see a lot of advisors getting time back, and they're really, really easy to do. So the next one I see a lot of advisors lean into when it comes to CRM is client segmentation. So you may have hundreds of clients or thousands of clients over the years. Some may be over 50, some may be under. Some you may be managing $1 million, some you may be managing $10,000. And so it's hard to treat clients differently when you don't know where they are or who they are. It's hard to provide different service. It's hard to cross-sell. It's hard to give them pertinent information. And so what I see a lot of advisors doing is once they get the data in their CRM, they then start segmenting the data accordingly. For example, life stage tags or segmentations: older than 50, under than 50, entrepreneur, not, sold business, not, had kids, not, first-time home buyer, etc. And if you start tagging, now don't just throw a million tags in the system, but the common ones that I'm seeing are kind of like job types, life stage types, age types, right? If you start segmenting, I'm sure I'm not saying anything new when Canada Life or whatever calls you or emails you saying, hey, we have this new product. You can sell this to a client without any medical, etc. You can now search in the system, show me everyone under 30 that is self-employed, that has CI or doesn't have CI. And so that's hugely valuable because what a lot of these tools can do, once you find all that data, boom, you can send out an email, send out a text, give yourself a task, and now you're getting pertinent information to the right people. And again, having these people in a database and being able to segment, there's no real downside on this. Who has ever complained about getting pertinent info to their life? Like if I personally got an email saying, hey, I know you're self-employed, I've got something for you, can you give me a call? That's way better than new product alert, right? And so personalization is kind of the name of the game these days. It's been going that way. You probably notice it on your phone and when you work online and whatever, that there's like cookies that follow you around everywhere. So if you click on an ad, you're going to see that brand for 3 more days. That is the norm. And so you have to catch up to that. And a great way to do that is just start tagging your clients. Here are some other examples. Based tagging. So a lot of these CRMs can do things where if a client isn't answering you, it can ping you. If a client has opened or clicked your email, it can ping you, etc. And so depending on how they're behaving with you or interacting with you, you can then cause reactions in the system. And that is super valuable. So for example, I sent out an email blast recently. A bunch of people came to a webinar. I sent out an email blast. And if any of them clicked my email, I would get a task to call them. And so that's a very handy thing. And you can be very proactive. And I was calling them saying, hey, Jim, like, you have any questions about the webinar? It was great seeing you. Meanwhile, I know he interacted with my content. Now I'm not, quote, wasting my time calling 300 people when only 20 of them clicked. And I'd rather focus on those 20 because they showed some behavior that I want to work with. And so these are the types of things that are really handy. You don't have to do exactly that. You can also do the other way. If they're not interacting with you, you can click that too, right? So those are really powerful. The last one I see a lot of advisors doing is referral-based communication. So right now, referral boosting, basically, where like right now, you probably get a lot of your business from realtors or lawyer. If you know that and you have that in the database and you know that Jim, the realtor, has sent you 10 deals or hasn't sent you 10 deals, you can then action that. And that's a really powerful system to feed referrals. If you start tracking where people are coming from, what referral sources they're coming from, and then you act off of that, it's huge. And we see a lot of clients' referrals soar. At the very least, you're going to be able to have meaningful conversations with your referral sources and say, hey, Jim, you only sent me 50 leads this year. And maybe rephrase that. Hey, Jim, you sent me 50 leads this year. Like, thank you so much. Unfortunately, like 40 of them weren't a fit. Like, can we talk about what a fit is to me? And so like at the very least, you can have those type of conversations. And that's really powerful. So segmentation and personalization is another really interesting area of these databases that you can probably see the value already of that stuff. And these are ones like the automations are really neat. They help you scale. They're really good. It's kind of a long tail where it's like it gets built into your process and builds trust and builds clients over time. This advanced client segmentation is arguably easier. And you can do very big and pointed email blasts or tasks or text blasts. And when you do, you can get almost instant feedback and instant business. I've seen a lot of clients send out a very personalized email and immediately get business. So keep that in mind. There's very quick ROIs in all of these, especially this one. So the last one that I think is meaningful for you to understand when it relates to a CRM is integrations. So we actually built our tool. One of the reasons we built it is we talked to advisors, and a lot of them said, we feel oversubscribed. We're paying for Calendly and DocuSign and MailChimp and CRM and Outlook, etc. If you find a good tool, a lot of those really good ones can integrate with a lot of things, or they can at least allow you to have many things in one bundle. So ours is a bundled product. There are others out there that will let you integrate. That's something you really got to look at. And kind of the three areas that I see integrations being meaningful are financial planning softwares. So there's a lot of those out there for those of you that are in the CRO world. Snap, Conquest, Razor, all of those are out there. A lot of them do integrate with CRMs. Then on the flip side, there's e-signature software. So like the way you should think about this is like, what do you use in your business that is legal, that provides value to the client or is legally necessary? And can that be integrated into my core CRM? And so some of the things, the financial planning software is very important to be able to visualize what you're saying to a client. So can that be integrated? Because I don't want to retype things. I don't want to copy paste. E-signature. Again, that is very important to the conversation. It's also legally binding. You have to get the client to sign things. Okay, well, if you have to use DocuSign, does DocuSign integrate with any CRM or the CRM I'm looking at? Why integration is so important? A, it's setting you up for this AI wave and automation wave that's coming. But B, it allows you to very quickly find meaningful information. It allows you to have everything in one place. If there's a compliance audit, it just saves so much time in the compliance scenario, in the everyday scenario. And there's all kinds of cool things you can do with integrations. Like, for example, if you send out a DocuSign contract, the client signs it, it comes back into your CRM, that could ping you, or it could shoot an email to the client saying, hey, thanks for signing this. I'll get back to you soon. So there's all kinds of things you can lean into there. The last one, which may be obvious, is marketing automation. So I can't tell you how many advisors I talk to that don't even communicate with their clients at least once a year. The top advisors I see are 4 to 6 times a year. Doesn't have to be about their policy or about their investment. It could be Merry Christmas. It could be Happy Holidays, whatever. But you need to stay top of mind with clients. And one of the key ones is marketing automation integration. And the reason being, if you've got all your client information in a CRM, you don't want to retype it in another software. And what if they open your email or click your email? You want to know about that in your CRM so that you can have meaningful conversations with them, right? And so these are kind of 3 areas: the legal way, DocuSign; the client portfolio way, Razor, Snap, all of that; and then the marketing. And if you think of that, that's kind of a holistic or a good start for integrations to make sure everything's dialed in and integrated back with the product. So, I mean, this wasn't meant to be a really long podcast. This was just something on my mind, where there are a lot of advisors these days that are starting to think, okay, I need to get my data in a database. I need to get organized. But a lot of them are like, I'm not fully convinced that I need to do it. Like, I think I do, but I'm not fully convinced. And I typically go around these scenarios. It's like, listen, you can automate a lot of stuff, and here they are, the fail safes, the client communications. Listen, you can also segment your data, sell better, sell smarter, just communicate more personalized to clients. And 3, then you can start integrating stuff. So you don't have to go finding stuff for compliance audits, or you don't have to go double entering things when it comes to marketing or DocuSign or whatever. And so if you start thinking of that and you think in an ROI perspective, there's not only opportunity cost that you're saving, there's not only direct costs that you're saving. Typically, if you get a lot of stuff in one database, you're going to save money. But there's also massive revenue potential with all of this. And so that's what you got to think about. Like, there's very little loss on this. Now, don't get me wrong. Any database is change. Any change takes time. And so you do have to look at that. But in my experience, I've been doing and working with CRMs for about a decade. You should buckle up for about an ROI time period of about 4 to 6 months. And what I mean by that is the first couple months, you're going to learn the software. There's going to be some struggles. You're going to have some questions. After that, you're going to trust the software and start turning on automation. So that's month 3 to 4. After that, you're going to get a lot of business out of it. And then you'll be sold. but you just have to understand there's a bit of a journey. There's a climb for 2 months. There's a plateau and a comfortability for 2 months. And then you really take off. And some people are faster, some are slower, but that's kind of the average I see. It's like anything. You buy a new home, you got to settle into it. Doesn't feel like home for a year, right? Whatever it is. And so this is no different. But the thing to keep in mind is you're future-proofing your business. You're allowing your business to grow potentially without you. And that is super important. And at the end of the day, it provides better customer service. You look better, the client's happier, and you make more money. So I hope you appreciated that. I hope I broke this down in a meaningful way for you so that you can kind of think of CRM. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe. Love hearing from you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.